Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you about API stubbing and how you can use that for both testing on development as well as writing your unit tests when you do API testing. So in particular, I want to introduce you to this library over here, which is called OHHTTPStubs. So in case you are developing professionally, this is a must-know library. So what it does is that it helps you to stub API response. Let me give you an example here. Okay, so this is the finished project that I've done. So I'm going to code this again from scratch if you guys are interested, if you continue watching this video. But I want to give you an overview of what we are looking at over here, okay? So as you can see, I have a very simple view controller over here. And then inside, I have a profile service, okay? And in profile service, this is the class over here which has one function which is fetch profile. Okay, so this is basically making an API call to this endpoint jsonkeeper.com, and I have that inside over here. And this is a pretty simple payload. We have name and email, two fields, and both are of string type. Okay, so Kelvin and email@example.com. So what happens is that over here inside view deload, I'm basically calling the fetch profile and I'm printing out the name and the email. So you should see Kelvin as well as email@example.com. So let me just quickly run this for you, and let's examine what we see inside the console. Okay, so let's run this, and you see that this is Terry@apple.com. So how is that possible? Because we're making a call to this endpoint, and this endpoint is showing Kelvin and email@example.com. Obviously, the reason is because we have stubbed the JSON response. And the way I did that is actually over here inside the app delegate. So if you see over here, I did a condition over here. If this is on the debug configuration, I'm going to stub the endpoint, and I'm going to point the response to this mock_profile_response.json, which I have this over here. All right, so which is Terry@apple.com. Okay, however, if I am to change the build configuration right now, if I go to edit scheme, and right now under run info, currently I'm on debug. If I move this to release, so let's assume that release will really call the real endpoint over here. Let's run this and let's see what we are getting in the console. Okay, so I think you would have expected that the answer would be Kelvin and email@example.com. So let's just wait for the simulator to run, and let's see what's happening inside the console. All right, so Kelvin email@example.com. So how this is useful is if let's say you are working with a development server. Let's assume you don't have a development server and you just want to mock certain endpoints, then this could be really useful. And the way I did that is, you see over here inside this this URL, I end with this path over here 760s, and inside this app delegate, I'm able to specify that if the path ends with this, or if the domain name starts with that, then let's point to any specific JSON file inside your project. So you can see the use case of this. All right, so the second use case of this is when you do API testing. So let's come over to one of the test file over here. So API stub, and this is basically just a simple test. So over here I have the happy path and I have the unhappy path. Okay, so what we are testing for in this test file is basically the profile service. Okay, so in the happy path, basically I'm able to stub. So let's assume that if you have not performed any stubbing, if you are to make the API, if you are to run the test over here, this will literally make a network call to the endpoint, and this is not what we want, because the endpoint could be taken down, and then your unit test could fail, your CI could actually fail as well. So we don't want that. We want to be able to stop the endpoint. So over here, notice that inside under the given, I have stopped this endpoint over here, and I have pointed this to mock profile valid response. Okay, so let's examine what is mock profile valid response. This is the one over here. So I have Terry@apple.com, and that's the reason when I make the API call, I'm asserting that the profile.email is Terry@api.com. All right, so let me just quickly run this to show you that this will pass, and then later I will make some changes inside the valid response to show you that this will work as well. Okay, so as you can see, this passes. Okay, so right now if I come over here and I just tweak this to maybe Terry Lee, okay, and then let's come over here and let's hit the run button over here. So obviously this is going to fail right now, so let's watch this fail. Okay, so currently it says that Terry Lee is not equals to terry@apple.com. All right, so now you see how this works. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to terry@apple.com, and right now let's examine the second test case. So this is the happy path. We are testing that, you know, inside the receive value, inside the sync function, we are expecting that this expectation to be fulfilled, and then we are making the assertion over here. But inside the unhappy path, what am I doing over here? I am stubbing this a payload over here. I call this the invalid response.json, and let's have a look what's inside over here. So over here, as you notice, I have name and I have email, but the email I'm returning true, which obviously is wrong because inside over here under our model, we have specified email to be string. So obviously this is going to fail, all right, which means we're not going to land inside the, okay, let me show it to you. We're not going to land inside this this block over here. All right, this block starting from line 42. Okay, so let's look at the unhappy path. Okay, so given, so I have an expectation here. I've stubbed this to be the invalid response, and then when I make the API call, I have the completion over here, and I'm asserting that the failure will be caught. And if I come to line 66, which is when the passing is valid, then I'm going to fail. All right, so I hope that you kind of understand this. So right now, if I am to run this right now, obviously it's going to pass because true, the passing is basically going to fail. But if I come back over here and let's just change this to maybe even just a string like that, I think this will pass. If I'm to hit this, notice that if I put the breakpoint on line 66, I should be able to hit this over here. All right, so obviously this is how you can perform the stubbing. Okay, I hope that I've given you a quick overview of how this works, and then right now I'm going to show you how we can code this from scratch. All right, so over here I have stubbing demo, which is a brand new Xcode project. And the first thing we want to do is basically to load the library, right? So the library is this one over here, OHHTTPStubs. So let's copy this, and then let's come over to the project settings, and then let's come here, and then under package dependencies, let's install this. Okay, so let's paste this and let's just wait for a little while, and then let's go with up to the next minor version. Okay, so let's hit add package, and let's wait for a while for the library to be installed into your Xcode project. Okay, so I think this will take. Okay, so now we need to install both of them. Not really sure why, but we just have to use both of them. Okay, so add package, and then right now inside view controller, I'm going to use this as my reference, and then just code out for you the really basic boilerplate stuff first. All right, so we're going to make an API call. So let's create a model. So maybe I can use a strut to represent this. So profile, this will be decodable, and then what do we want? We want to have a name, and then we just want to have an email, which is of type string. Okay, so let's create a service over here. So class, let's call this profile service. Okay, we don't have to do any protocol-oriented programming stuff over here, so I'm not going to conform to any kind of protocol or do some form of abstraction. So let's create a function over here called fetch profile, and then this will return to us an any publisher. Okay, so that means I'm going to just import combine over here. So it's going to return to us any publisher of type profile. Okay, in the event if it fails, it's going to return to us an error. Okay, so the way we're going to do that is, okay, before that, let me also introduce you to JSON Keeper. JSON Keeper is pretty cool. So if you guys don't know, this is a very quick way of just, creating some custom JSON over here. So maybe we can do that over here. So let's call this name. Okay, let's use Calmo, and then email. This will be calmo@email.com, for example. Okay, so I think this should be valid. Let's hit the save button, and then right now we have this new endpoint over here. Let's paste this in. We will get let's see, calmo@email.com. So let's use this one over here. Okay, so let's do let URL string equals to this, and then let's create the URL. So maybe let me just move this out of the way. So let URL equals to URL, and then let's pass in the string, URL string. Let's force unwrap this because it's definitely going to work. So let's return URL session dot shared dot data data task publisher for URL. So let's pass in the URL, and then we're going to map the data. So map the data So data. Okay, so we're only interested in the data, and then we're going to decode this to profile.self, and then the decoder will be JSON decoder, and then let's just received on main dispatch queue dot main, and then let's erase this to any publisher. Okay, so I hope that you guys are still following along. Whoops, this slide down. Okay, so command B to build this. Let's come over here to the view controller. Let's initialize an instance of profile service. So profile service equals to profile service, and then under view did load, let's do okay, I think we need to hold this call as well. So cancelables equals to any cancelable. Just hold for a while. Yeah. Alright, sorry, my kids came to want me to play with them, but I'll do that in just a while. Alright, so over here, let's do any cancelable. Cancelables equals to, let's do profile service.fetch profile. Let's just bring this down and then sync. Okay, so we have a completion here. Okay, and then over here we have the profile. So this happens when the parsing is correct. Okay, so over here I'm going to print out profile.name, and then let's do profile.email. Okay, so let's run this on the simulator and let's see if we are getting Calmo and oops, let's see what's the problem over here. Okay, let me run this. I think I copied that incorrectly, so let's run this one more time. Okay, Calmo at email.com. So let's start this right now. Okay, so I'm gonna do it. I can do it over here actually. So let's come over here, and then let's open up this the documentation for OHHTTPStubs, and it gives you a couple of examples over here, and I think this is good enough. So let's open this, copy, and then let's come back to Xcode, and then over here I'm going to do if host. Okay, so what is the host? The host is jsonkeeper.com. So let's just paste this over here. Okay, obviously it's going to complain because we have to import OHTTPstub as well as OHTTPstubs with. Okay, just like that. And then we have to point to some kind of JSON file. So let's come over here, right click, go to new file, and then I'm going to select I think it's empty. Let's select empty, and then let's call this mock underscore profile response.json. Okay, just like that. Hit the create button, use JSON, and then let's remove all of this, and then now we can define our own payload. Okay, so name will be maybe Alex over here, and then email will be Alex at microsoft.com, maybe microsoft.com. Okay, that's cool. All right, so now I'm going to now point to the JSON file, which is this one over here, mock profile response. So let me just copy this, and then let's come back to the view controller and just paste this inside over here. I think we can leave everything else the same, and let's just run the app right now to see if we are getting a different result over here. Okay, so let's see. All right, Calmo. Oh, what's the problem? Let's see. Alright guys, so I noticed why this is not working, and the reason is because inside the host we have to add in a www. So let me just try that one more time. So let's run this on the simulator again, and I think I should be seeing the Alex. Alright, so I'm seeing Alex at Microsoft.com. Again, if I come back over here and I do Alex123, and let's run this one more time, I believe I should see Alex123 at Microsoft.com. Alright, so this is the first application. So let's now let's move on to the testing portion. Okay, so let's create a test target. Over here I'm going to hit the plus button, and then I'm going to filter this by unit testing bundle. Okay, so I'm just going to use the default one over here, and then let me just come to my reference file so I can have a look. Okay, so inside over here we are going to create let's just set this up first. So I'm going to remove this. Okay, I don't need this, tear down with error, trolls. Okay, I can just remove all this over here. Okay, so let's do supo.setup, and then over here let's do supo.teardown as well. Okay, so let's define our SUT. So what are we testing for? Okay, var SUT, we are testing for our profile service. So obviously we don't have it here because we have to do a testable import we have to import our stubbing demo. Okay, so like that. So I believe if I hit the button over here, this is going to compile and the test is going to run. Okay, so what's the problem here? Oh, we are having some a missing test. Okay, I think the reason is because we have to also add that inside our testing target as well. So let's come over to build phrases, and then inside over here I'm going to use OHHTTPstub as well as HTTPstubs with. Okay, so I believe if I have to run this right now, it should pass. Okay, build succeeded. It's obviously going to pass because we have not written any tests yet. Okay, so let's start with writing the happy path. So test happy path. Okay, and then we also need to import combine, and then let's create the cancellables here. Cancellables, any cancelable. Okay, so we're going to do cancelable. Okay, I think singular. Cancelable equals to sut.fetchProfile.sync. Okay, so this is completion. Okay, I don't think I need to test anything over here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to do xct fail. Not expected to land here. So I'm going to do profile over here. And then under the given, I'm going to create an expectation that I'm expecting to land on line 33, right? So let expectation equals xc expectation, test expectation should receive profile. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I land over here. So fulfill, and then I'm going to do then I'm going to test that expectation. Oh, whoops, sorry. I'm going to do the weight, and for this expectation to be here, timeout maybe just 0.1 should be fine. Okay. Okay, so over here I also want to make an assertion. Okay, but before that I have to define the endpoint, right? I have to define the payload. So let's come over here, create a new file, and then empty file. Let's call this mock profile valid response.json. All right, hit the enter button, select use JSON. Okay, let's remove all this, and then let's come up with our own name and email again. Maybe Brandon. Okay, and then email. Let's do brandon@gmail.com. Okay, so something like that. And then let's come back to our test, and then I'm going to copy the entire thing over here. Where is that? Inside the view controller. So again, I'm going to copy this, and then let's just paste this just underneath here. Okay, so this is when. Okay, so obviously we have to point to the specific file itself. So the condition over here is host. Okay, so what's the problem here? So I have to import OHHTTPstub and OHHTTPstubs with. Okay, so I think this should be fine. I'm going to point to the valid response. All right, and then I can make the assertion here that xct assert equals profile.name is Brandon, and then xct assert profile.email is Brandon at gmail.com. Let me just have a quick look at gmail.com, Brandon@gmail.com. All right, cool. So I think 0.1 over here. Okay, so let's run this and let's hope that the happy path runs correctly. So I'm going to just hit this over here, and I think it's going to fail because this is going to be nil sut. So I have to do sut equals to init. Okay, so let's run this one more time, and over here I think I forgot to also do sut equals to nil. Okay, so now it looks like we failed. What's the problem over here? Not expected to land here. So we are landing over here incorrectly, and why is that so? Hey, I just did a quick debugging and I realized that the mistake was because I structured the test incorrectly. So I'm not supposed to put an xct fail over here because I noticed that when I print out the completion, I'm actually getting finished. So what this means is that this test is actually passing, okay? And putting this xct fail over here is incorrect. In fact, it should be inside the failure case. Okay, so let me rewrite this one more time. So this is incorrect. The way I should do that is to put this inside here instead. Okay, so this will be the finish case. So case.finished. Okay, so this should be one of the other expectation as well. So maybe I can do let expectation 2 over here, and inside over here dot fulfill, and then inside the the then case, I should have expectation as well as expectation 2. Okay, so I believe this is the right way to do it. Okay, so let me just run this one more time, and I believe it should be good over here. Okay, so let's watch the test pass. Okay, great. So over here again, if I am to change this to Brandon 1 or Brandon 2, let's run this again. And I'm expecting this to fail, so let's just wait for that to happen. Yep, Brandon 2 is not equals to Brandon at gmail.com. So let's run this one more time, and I believe everything should be good by now. Alright, so I think I can remove this one over here because I don't have to do any assertion for the error. Alright, now we're going to test for the unhappy path. So let's do func test unhappy path. So the unhappy path will be a JSON response that is invalid, and then we have to assert that when we fetch our profile, it's going to fall under this failure case. Okay, so it's exactly the opposite of the happy path. Okay, so let's do that right now. So let me just get the name over here, and then let's create a new file. So empty file, paste this inside. So instead of valid, I want it to be invalid.json. Okay, just like that. Hit the create button, use JSON, and then I'm going to maybe just copy this and then just change this to true. All right, so just like that. And then let's come back to the test file, and then let's structure this. So I think it's going to be very similar. So let me just copy the entire thing over here. Okay, so over here, we only have one expectation, should receive an error. Okay, so I think I can remove this one over here. So this will be invalid response, okay, pointing to this one over here, which is true for email field. And then I have to ensure that the expectation is being fulfilled over here. So expectation.fulfill, and then this would be xct fail. I should fail if I get the finish, not supposed to finish. Okay, I believe this should be correct. Okay, and over here as well, I think I should do an assertion here as well, that xct fail, not supposed to receive profile, because obviously the passing is going to fail. Okay, so we just need this expectation, and let me just quickly run this to see if this is passing. Okay, so let's have a look. Alright, so great, this is passing right now because obviously the API payload is incorrect. So maybe let's switch this to true. Okay, so since this is a string, it will qualify. So let's run this one more time, and then and then yeah, this is going to fail. Oops, is this? Yeah, obviously this is going to fail because I've structured this to test for the failure case. So let me just come back here again. And just set this back to true. Okay, so this will fulfill our condition. And then right now, if I'm to run the entire test class, let's come back to here. I believe everything should pass with flying colors, I hope. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, test succeeded. That's great. All right, guys, I know this hasn't been very smooth, but I hope that you have learned something useful from this. So yeah, I hope that you're able to use this to write better API tests, and then you'll have a much smoother app experience as a developer. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.